Hi, I'm Evan Hafer, CEO of Twist Rate.
And I'm Jeff Kirkham, President of Twist Rate.
Together we have over 40 years of special operations experience in tactics and firearms. We've been around the world and taught everyone from soccer moms to the most elite special operations forces. And now we're here to teach you. Hi, I'm Evan Hafer, CEO of Twist Rate.
And I'm Jeff Kirkham, President of Twist Rate.
Today we're going to cover the 4 main malfunctions with the AR platform.
What are the 4 malfunctions?
Well, the 4 main malfunctions with the AR platform are failure to feed, failure to fire, stovepipe, a double feed, and a bolt override.
That's a nasty one.
Yeah, the bolt override is nasty. We're going to give you some tools in order to deal with that effectively, whether you're shooting at night or during the day. Awesome. So let's go into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is proper shooting fundamentals. So I'm going to go ahead and get Jeff face down range as if he's shooting. We do have dummy rounds in this rifle, so there won't be any rounds going off. So he's got proper fundamentals of marksmanship. He's aimed in on the target. He rotates his selector switch. He pulls the trigger, and he gets click. Nothing happens. So what he's doing right here is he's actually asking his weapon a question. What's going on here? So it just told him, hey, I don't have a round, or there's something wrong with that round. The first thing he needs to do is the finger comes off the trigger, and he tries to rotate that selector switch to safe. It doesn't work. The next thing he needs to do is elevate and rotate. So he snaps that into position, and as you can see, the rifle is roughly at a 45 degree with the ejection port facing towards the ground or open towards the ground, because you want to use gravity to your advantage here. And he's got the buttstock properly seated against his chest, and that works the same way whether you was using body armor or not. The next thing he does is he properly seats his magazine. Okay, so he's going to slap and pull out to make sure that magazine is seated properly. He then goes to his charging handle with his non-firing hand. He pulls all the way to the rear, and he releases the charging handle. Okay, as he releases that charging handle, you should see one round come out, or if you didn't have a round in there to begin with, nothing will come out, but you'll feel the next round seat properly. Once he feels that round seat properly, he rotates the weapon system back down into his target line. He then squeezes the trigger, and typically if he would have had a round in there, that bullet would have actually went off. So,
hey Evan, what are some advantages to bringing the rifle up at a 45 degree angle?
Well, there are a couple different advantages there. One is when you elevate and rotate that weapon system with the ejection port facing the ground, you're going to utilize gravity to your advantage, and then that gravity is actually going to, one, work with the rifle. So as the rifle pulls, or you pull that round out of chamber, it'll fall straight onto the ground.
What if like I've got a bunch of sights and electronics and stuff up here? It feels like that weight is now seated back into me instead of this top end thing that you sometimes see out on the range.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got positive control, you pull that, you seat it against your chest. You should have positive control with that weapon system, and then now I can rotate that charging handle back.
And then why do we want to use our left hand for the charging handle instead of in basic training when we learned to use the fork grip and yank this thing back?
Well, I'm trying to do everything with my support side, right? So I've got a support side on this weapon system for a reason. Most of your malfunctions, whether it's type 1, 2, 3, not 4, but type 1, 2, and 3, can actually be cleared with this procedure right here. It's been my experience throughout the courses that I can clear about 70% of my malfunctions using this immediate action drill. All right, the next thing we're going to cover is a type 2 malfunction, or a stovepipe. The stovepipe looks exactly like this. You've got a round that's basically sticking out of your ejection port, and it's pinned between the bolt, the chamber, and sticking out of the ejection port. It could be front or back, depending. I've seen it both ways. So the same rules apply that we executed the type 1 with, which is you're going to start the drill, and he's going to face down range. He's going to get proper sight alignment, sight picture. He's going to pull the trigger. Okay? Nothing happens. The first thing that he does is what? He takes his finger off the trigger. He tries to rotate that selector switch to safe. Nothing happens. He elevates and rotates the rifle. Look familiar? Then he slaps or seats the magazine properly. Then he pulls the charging handle. You can see the round fill out of the chamber. He releases, goes back on target, reacquires proper sight alignment, sight picture, and pulls the trigger. That's type 2 malfunction. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is a type 3 malfunction or double feed. Basically, you've got multiple rounds competing for that same spot. Typically, these malfunctions are caused by bad magazines. So what we're going to do is we're going to step right into it. Jeff, go ahead and face down range. Fundamentals of marksmanship being executed flawlessly. The next thing he's going to do is he's going to get proper alignment sight picture. He's going to squeeze the trigger. Okay, he gets nothing. So he's asked the question, now he needs to provide feedback and ask it a few more questions. So what he's going to do is he's going to elevate and rotate. Slap seat, pull, release. Now, as you can see, he's used gravity to his distinct advantage. Both rounds fell 3. Then he seated the next round by pulling and releasing the charging handle. He's back online. He should get a good trigger pull. Absolutely. So most of the time, your malfunction sequence can be solved by using this sequence or this immediate action drill every time, which is finger off the trigger, elevate, rotate, slap, pull, release, or pull, release the actual charging handle, back on target, and then shoot away. So this is a continuation to the type 3. We're going to get a little bit more involved with the double feed, or if that double feed doesn't fall freely, or those 2 rounds don't fall freely, the first time you go into your malfunction sequence, this is a little bit more detailed so you can get through that double feed malfunction sequence. So we're going to go ahead and set Jeff up. He's going to face down range in the direction of travel, aim in on his target. He's going to rotate his selector switch, squeeze. He gets nothing, so finger comes off the trigger. Rotate that selector switch back. Should go to safe. He elevates and rotates. He slaps, the magazine pulls out. He pulls the charging handle to the rear and releases. Nothing happens. It's a squishy charging handle. So at this point in time, he understands that he has to get a little bit more aggressive with this malfunction sequence. So what he does is he then can take his firing hand off the weapon system. But what he first needs to do is he locks the bolt to the rear. So he locks it, leaves the charging handle. What that does is this takes the charging handle out of the chamber equation. So he locks it back here and he leaves it. So now you're not fighting for as much space up there in the chamber. The next thing that he does is he releases the magazine and stows it at a point in which he always can get that magazine back. And the next thing he'll do is he'll reach up, knuckles facing him, and he'll go ahead and release those 2 rounds from the chamber. Once he's actually released those 2 rounds, he's going to ask the weapon system if the chamber is clear. How he asks that is he releases the charging handle. The charging handle should seat or release freely. The actual bolt should seat and he'll feel it. He'll ask it one more time. Absolutely. Saying, go ahead and load me, bro. Loads the rifle, so he seats the magazine, pull, release, and back on target. Fire away. And that's type 3 or double feed. All right, so this is your type 4 malfunction sequence, is the bolt override. Some of us have had the unique pleasure of dealing with the bolt override. And what we have is we've got a really simple procedure for guys to utilize, and I'll fix it absolutely as fast as I've seen a bolt override fixed. So the first thing that Jeff will do is he'll go ahead and get into his proper shooting stance, proper sight alignment sight picture, and rotate and squeeze. There we go. He gets nothing, so now he has to do what? He has to elevate and rotate. Slap, pull, and then he goes back to the charging handle. Uh-oh, what do we need to do now? Basically what he's doing is he's asking a series of questions to this rifle. This rifle is telling him exactly what is going on with that round. So what's it telling you, Jeff?
Bolt override.
Bolt override. So at that point in time, he has to free up that firing side hand and his support hand to deal with this effectively. So if you're in a gunfight, obviously you're going to do what?
Seek cover.
Seek cover or transition, right? So right now what he's going to do is he's going to go ahead and rotate this rifle over. So he's going to identify that he does have a bolt override, and that's going to go ahead and tell him exactly what he needs to do next. So what's the thing that you need to do next, Jeff?
Remove the magazine.
Remove the magazine, absolutely. So he removes the magazine. The next thing he'll do is he'll pull back on the charging handle, and he'll hold the bolt. So when I talk about holding the bolt, he's going to stick his finger in there in front of the actual bolt, and then he'll release or push the charging handle forward, and that'll release the round itself. When he's done that, he'll actually see the chamber is clear by doing what? Looking, and, or if it's at night, feeling by just releasing the charging handle. Once he asks that question, he'll say, absolutely, that thing's clear. He'll get his positive reassurance by doing it again, and now he's loading that magazine. He's back on target. All right, so that was type 1, 2, 3, and 4 malfunctions on the AR platform. A couple things that we have to keep in mind is, why is it important to do the same thing every time? Why is it, Jeff?
Well, because when we're scared in the dark, it's easier to remember one thing versus a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely. That's why we always start with the same sequence every time. That sequence actually is very, very similar to the pistol malfunction sequence. So as you can see, if I'm facing downrange, and if I'm acquiring my sights properly through my pistol, then I squeeze, I get nothing, what do?
Elevate, rotate.
Absolutely. Finger off the trigger, elevate, rotate, slap seat, pull, release, back on target. Looks extreme.